Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Peter Murphy begins now.
Good evening, everyone. There's been a tragic end to the search for a young Victorian man who went missing during a night out on Hobart's waterfront. Police divers have discovered a body believed to be Jared Davies after finding a clue off Elizabeth Street Pier.
Police divers entering the water this morning, scouring the area behind Elizabeth Street Pier. Day 2 of searching for Jared Davies.
Unfortunately, we've located a body in the water at 12:45 this afternoon. Obviously, we need to undertake further examinations. We believe it may be Mr Davies.
A key discovery last night focused the investigation on this area.
We located a mobile phone near the end of the Elizabeth Street Pier. We did some tests on that phone and we worked out that the phone did belong to Mr Davies. So therefore that then allowed us to narrow our focus on the end of that pier.
Police say the Victorian tourist was last seen at the Observatory Bar at around 1 a.m. on Sunday and made a phone call to his father nearly half an hour later. The next evening, the 27-year-old's family then notifying police as they grew worried he hadn't contacted them. Investigation so far ruling out foul play.
At this stage, there's no indication of any person being involved in this man's death.
Police say the 27-year-old was visiting Hobart with his father for a marine training course, but left the Observatory Bar alone on Sunday night and headed towards the pier.
We haven't had any witnesses come forward to advance it along any further, and so at the moment we don't have a specific, idea of exactly what has occurred that's led this man to fall in the water.
Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's biosecurity authorities are responding to a new detection of Queensland fruit fly, a devastating pest for our fruit growers. For more on this story, our reporter Elizabeth O'Neill is in East Launceston. Elizabeth, good evening. How did authorities detect the fruit fly?
Well, Pete, Biosecurity Tasmania detected the Queensland pug in a fruit fly trap here in East Launceston yesterday. It's one of 1,000 fruit fly traps across the state which are checked weekly. Biosecurity Tasmania has stressed that this does not constitute an outbreak, and the strict biosecurity controls which we saw in the north 2 years ago will not be reinstated.
Certainly one single fly doesn't impact on our market status or our market access, but we're precautionary and we follow up.
As a result of the discovery, more traps will be set up and fruit trees will be checked in the surrounding area, Pete.
Treasury has revealed a GST hit to the state budget and a blowout in our predicted net debt to $1.4 billion. The revised estimates report warns of weaker global and national economic conditions, but despite the challenges, the government continues to promise budget surpluses.
A lunchtime talk, one of Peter Gutwin's first public events with the business sector since becoming Premier.
But at the end of the day, it's the people in this room that make the investment decisions that employ the people. To take the risk.
His address also delivering some sobering news on Tasmania's budget situation. The revised estimates report released today, outlining the state's strong economy, but weaker conditions globally and nationally.
Focus on ensuring that we have a strong economy, that there are high confidence levels in the Tasmanian community. Importantly, that we grow the economy and we create jobs.
A job more important with our GST revenue taking a $272 million hit over the forward estimates. The report also revealing expenditure is up by $750 million, including the extra cost of firefighting efforts and more spending on health.
Invest into health with a view to ensuring that the significant increase in health FTEs, employees, can be maintained.
State-based revenue is up by $328 million, led by house sales, land and payroll tax. State-owned companies Hydro Tasmania and Sustainable Timbers will have to cough up an extra $90 million in dividends to the government. But it's not enough to save us from ballooning levels of debt. Tasmania's net debt predicted to reach $1.4 billion, up by more than $250 million.
Building unsustainable deficits. They are pushing Tasmania into an unsustainable position. They're raiding the GBEs, they're cutting health services. There is no strategy.
Despite this, the government is continuing with its pledge to spend $3.6 billion on infrastructure projects and forecasts a modest surplus over the next 4 years.
At the moment, with interest rates as low as they are and a growing population, I make no apologies for ensuring that Tasmanians can have the infrastructure that they need.
But Treasury warns there are emerging risks. Bushfire rebuilding efforts interstate could push up construction costs and drain resources here. Global trade is uncertain, and the true economic impact of the coronavirus is still to be realised. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Drought-ravaged farmers on the state's east coast say they're jumping for joy after receiving the most amount of rain in months. But the local mayor warns the region will need a lot more to pull the area from the depths of water restrictions.
At his Falmouth property in the early hours of this morning, Brendan Jordan woke up to a sound this bone-dry region has been crying out for 3 years.
I woke up about 20 to 3 and I thought, oh God, I haven't heard that for that long.
Rain, 31 millimetres of it, in the space of just 6 hours.
Everyone's like us, jumping for joy, grinning, no doubt.
By no means a drought-breaking deluge, but enough to keep this 250 megalitre dam afloat for now.
There's about probably 30-35 megs of stock water left, and then we're actually out.
Further north, 43 mils of rain filled gauges in St Helens.
Yeah, we got a nice bit of rain last night. It was nice to lay in bed and hear it coming down.
St Helens hasn't had a day this wet since 2008 in February.
While Scamander saw around 30 mils, both towns hoping a bigger downfall will pull them out of water restrictions.
We could do with a soaking like that every day for the next few weeks, even a month.
The recent wet weather has locals in the area cheering, but they know they'll need a lot more prolonged rainfall for it to have any significant impact.
To get our water table back up, we need substantial rain all through autumn to pick the aquifers back up to where they should be.
The Weather Bureau is expecting the region could be lashed again as early as Friday.
It does look like we're set to have another week of easterly winds, so that means a lot more cloud, showers at times about the east of the state.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
The fight for the Tarkine has hit the streets of Hobart today, with more than 40 protesters gathering on the waterfront to catch the attention of Premier Peter Gutwein. Protesting the recent logging by Sustainable Timber Tasmania, they say they're happy the harvesting work has finished, but their efforts will continue until logging ends in the region.
It's absolutely the fact that there is no social licence for logging in the Tarkine. We will be there on the front lines in the Tarkine every time they try and destroy these ancient rainforests.
In a statement, Sustainable Timber Tasmania has said their harvesting activity has been completed after meeting customer requirements, not due to protest action. Tasmania's Children's Commissioner wants the well-being of young people to be at the forefront of all government policy. She's released a new report which shows Tasmanian children are lagging behind on a number of indicators, including poverty levels, employment and education participation and mental illness. The Commissioner says supporting parents and families through the first 1,000 days of a child's life is critical.
If interventions can be put in at this time, we can make a difference to lives generally, as well as some of the very persistent health problems that we have in Tasmania.
The Premier says he's yet to read the report, but the government takes the issue seriously. Well, the numbers are in and it's official. Tasmanians love their soccer. Research undertaken by local company EMRS suggests 20% of households were directly involved with local matches in the past 12 months. The sports governing body in the state, Football Federation Tasmania, is attributing the rise in popularity to its accessibility to play and watch.
It's everywhere. Kids and young people can see it everywhere, both domestically and also overseas. And the performances and the profile of teams like the Matildas now is really adding an impetus to that.
Results also show that 38,000 Tasmanians play the game in some capacity, compared to 22,000 playing Aussie rules. A pregnant woman has been taken to hospital as a precaution after being involved in a two-vehicle crash on the East Derwent Highway at Herdsman's Cove this morning. The cause is still under investigation.
We'd urge everybody to drive to the conditions. You know, there has been some rain on the road today, so drive to the conditions, the speed, the weather conditions, and always remember the fatal 5. We can't stress that enough.
The woman's injuries are not believed to be serious. The other driver was uninjured. More than 1,500 Tasmanians are expected to suffer a stroke this year. It's a condition that can affect the young and old, but the Stroke Foundation says lifestyle changes can greatly decrease your chances of having one.
It can happen anywhere and anytime. 84-year-old Jenny Ferrier's life changed forever when she suffered a stroke nearly 8 years ago.
It doesn't come any scarier than a stroke. It's a loss of control, loss of independence. It happens in seconds. It's so quick and your life has changed forever.
Stroke is one of Australia's biggest killers and a leading cause of disability, a statistic the Stroke Foundation is wanting to change.
Stroke is always a time-critical medical emergency. The faster a stroke is diagnosed and treated, the better the chance of a good outcome.
The foundation is holding information sessions across the state, bringing awareness to the issue.
It's something that I've had a bit of concern about for myself, because both my mother and grandmother had strokes, even though they lived until they're in their 90s. I wanted to know a bit more, well, to be as well informed as I could be.
Stroke prevention is key, with the foundation advocating for a healthy diet, regular exercise and alcohol in moderation. But Tasmanians are urged to look out for the signs of a stroke, which include slurred speech, an inability to lift your arms and a dropped face. Anyone with these symptoms should seek hospital treatment. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Rain, hail or shine, a piece of Launceston has weathered every storm for the past 100 years. In 2020, the umbrella shop celebrates a century at the same location, but more history is still being unravelled.
Umbrellas. They can be magical, musical,
I'm singing and dancing in the rain,
or in Launceston's case, magnetising. This year, the old umbrella shop marks a century in the same location. It remained in family hands for 3 generations before the shop was bequeathed to the National Trust some 20 years ago.
They're a really interesting commentary on social history.
Often they were fashion statements, especially the taller summer versions.
The inside of the sun umbrellas is more decorative than the tops, because as people would be walking down the street, you'd see up into them.
Some date back to colonial times, perhaps the most unusual, a shade designed for horses in the 1850s. A gentleman at the turn of the century may have been partial to this bone-handled design with its fine linen fabric to protect him from the sun. Incredibly, umbrellas such as this one are among only a handful available on public display. The National Trust has more than 300 vintage umbrellas in its hands. Only around 30 can be seen in store. But soon, stock will be rotated to bring more of those hidden items to light, and so more research can be undertaken into the oldest ones.
We don't know a lot about them. We don't know how old they are or where a lot of them came from.
And if you're searching for style and shade,
there has to be a colour that matches someone's personality. And I find lately I'm even talking men into going for a colour. Just get away from the boring black and try something different.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News. Tim Payne will lead Tasmania's Sheffield Shield side this Friday as the Tigers prepare for life after George Bailey. Tom Rogers and Beau Webster are also in the squad against a Queensland side also hitting the reset button. It feels like a lifetime ago Tassie was playing in the Sheffield Shield. Now the glitz and glamour of the Big Bash is over. The long-form season resumes with National Test captain Tim Payne leading the charge. George Bailey now officially retired.
He's a pretty unique man, is Bales, but to have Payne back in the group and lead us will be excellent for us as well.
The squad will head to a Gabba pitch hammered by rain. We won't know who forms the final 11 until the ground's been assessed.
Until we go up there, look, they've had some rain, they've had some issues with, from what we've heard, some issues with their preparation of the pitch as well. So, look, we'll take a squad of 13.
Matthew Wade won't be heading along. He's in the national T20 squad going to South Africa. While the Bulls have made a selection shock, dropping out-of-sorts batsman Matt Renshaw. Just 2 years ago, he was opening for the national test team. While at last night's Australian Cricket Awards, Tasmanian Corinne Hall took out the Community Champion Award. Hobart Hurricanes player Taylor Vlemenick was named the Betty Wilson Young Cricketer of the Year.
Good evening. A high of 26 in Launceston today, at Burnie 25, 27 in Devonport, Hobart reaching 22. A high of 27 about Smithton and Strawn, Ouse and Flinders Island 26 and Lowhead 25. On the close-up shows cloud over the state clearing from the northwest. Further out, mid to low level cloud covered parts of Victoria, New South Wales and southern Queensland, where thunderstorms also developed this afternoon. Tomorrow shows a high pressure system drift to the south of Tasmania, while a trough extends across the mainland. South to southeasterly winds tomorrow 15 to 25 knots, swells up to 1.5 metres in the west and south and up to 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for northeastern coastal waters from Stanley to St Helens and for western coastal waters from Low Rocky Point to Stanley. Tomorrow's forecast now: Hobart, a high of 19, 20 in Geeveston, Bothwell cloudy. In the north, a mostly sunny 28 in Launceston, 27 in Devonport, Cressy partly cloudy. Burnie tomorrow mostly sunny, 24 in Strawn, Curry partly cloudy. St Helens 21, Swansea and Orford a high of 20. The UV forecast very high 10s across the state. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast, Thursday round about the east, increasing about the northeast. Friday showers with possible thunderstorms, and Saturday showers easing in the west in the afternoon. Capital cities mostly sunny at Perth tomorrow, Adelaide 27 and a shower or two at Canberra. And currently Hobart cloudy and 24, Launceston 27 and Devonport mostly cloudy and 23. That's all in weather tonight, Murph.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Catch you tomorrow night. And that's all the news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks very much for joining us. Good night.